Hello, everybody. Good morning to all of you. Today, in this video, we are going to discuss Bragg's law of X-ray diffraction. So, today's topic is Bragg's law. What is Bragg's law? First of all, we should know that W. H. Bragg and his son W. L. Bragg derived Bragg's law in 1930. What was the purpose? Because every experiment, every research has some aim. So there must be purpose. Here purpose was to know the internal structure of the solid, because we know that solid is made up of atoms, but we can't see its arrangement, internal arrangement, so we can't see that whether they are arranged in fixed pattern or definite pattern or in haphazard manner. Actually, the thing which can't see, we experience something from the experiment. Suppose you can't see and you want to know the shape, or you want to predict which type of body is this. What we do? First we touch, and by touching it, by seeing another thing, actually we can't see, we will take experience by touching or by smell or by any taste. Whatever is possible, we do, and we predict that this type of body or the body is of this type. Here, purpose is to know the internal structure. So he or they, you may say they, because W. H. Bragg and W. L. derived Bragg's law. What they did, they allowed to fall X-ray on the solid, on the sample, and diffraction pattern was obtained due to reflection of light from the surface, and on the basis of reflected light diffraction pattern and the set of parallel ray which interfere. So on this basis, by noting these things, they got the internal structure, or they predicted the internal structure of solid. See here in the figure. Actually, these are the planes. Actually, this is the two-dimensional picture, but the actual figure is three-dimensional. But we are trying to represent it on two dimension. So these are the three planes, one above the other, and you can see D is the spacing, B is the interplanar distance. Here, see here in the figure, PQ and P dash Q dash are the two rays incident upon the solid crystal, and these two rays diffracted in the same pattern as QR and Q dash R dash. So see here, we are trying to discuss. First we read literature part. Consider a set of parallel planes of atoms at a spacing d between two successive planes. Let a narrow monochromatic X-ray beam of wavelength lambda be incident on the first plane at a glancing angle theta. See here, this is the glancing angle. The incident ray makes an angle with the plane, and the characteristics of this that when any ray incident at glancing angle theta, the same angle will be formed here. Okay, the ray PQR and another set P dash Q dash R dash. Obviously, if you see the figure, you will find that path length P dash Q dash R dash is more than PQR. So it means there is a path difference, and we are going to calculate this path difference because unless we know the path difference, we can't make equal with n lambda or 2n plus 1 lambda to know the maximum intensity or minimum intensity, because you have read in 11 class that if the two ray interfere in constructive way, then intensity becomes maximum. Here I have written, and the condition will be 2d sine theta is equal to n lambda. N is integer 1 2 3. So here, as I told you, PQR and P dash Q dash R dash. This length P dash Q dash R dash is more than PQR. So to get the path difference, what we do? We draw perpendicular. See here, QR, this one, and QS from the same point Q, and TQ dash S. TQ dash S, this is the extra path. That will be the path difference. And from this triangle, there are two triangles here. From this triangle, this will be TQ dash is equal to D sine theta because this one is D. Mm, and this is also d sine theta. So total path difference will be d sine theta plus d sine theta is equal to 2d sine theta. Means TQ dash Q dash S is equal to 2d sine theta. And now we apply the condition 2d sine theta is equal to n lambda for maximum intensity. What is lambda? Lambda is the wavelength, n is the integer. This equation is called Brake's law. 2d sine theta and lambda is called Brake's law. Now, for next aim is to calculate wavelength. So we take a spectrometer. Here, we do not prefer ordinary spectrometer. We take Brake's spectrometer. Brake is specially designed for this purpose. This spectrometer consists of three parts. You can see, first we read here, a source of X-rays, a crystal, sorry, here it will be crystal. Why it will be? By mistake it has been typed U. It should be Y. Crystal held on a circular table which is graduated and provided with vernier detector, ionization chamber. And okay, X-ray from X-ray tube limited ones. I come to the figure directly. It will make more clear. See here, this portion is actually what we are going to do. We are going to diffract the X-ray. So we have to make an arrangement of X-ray, and second arrangement crystal, and third arrangement detection. So this portion is the X-ray tube. It produces X-ray. X-ray. This is S1 and S2, two slits. It will allow to pass narrow X-ray beam. So this portion here, left side is the portion. It is the source of X-ray production, or you may say X-ray tube which will produce X-ray. See, come to this figure. This portion, round shape, it is a table, metallic table on which we put a crystal. This is crystal C. You may see crystal, and this table can be rotated because it is supported on a vertical stand with a vernier. So you may rotate this table, and how much angle it is rotated, the angle through which it is rotated can be read through a vernier scale. So if once you rotate the table means you are rotating the crystal either clockwise or anti-clockwise depending upon the situation need. And see here, this X-ray falls on the crystal at glancing angle theta. This one is theta, and after scattering or after here diffraction, it come to here. This ray come to here and passes through the slit S3 and enter into ionization chamber. This is detected, you may say, ionization chamber, where the intensity of the X-ray beam will be directly proportional to current, which will be measured by the ionization chamber in the ionization chamber. So I am returning to here. The glancing angle theta is kept very small. The ionization chamber is adjusted to receive the reflected beam till the rate of deflection is maximum. Because deflection is in different direction. As you rotate the crystal, you will get deflection in different direction. So actually we have to set at maximum deflection position. The glancing theta and the intensity of deflected beam are measured. Beam I are measured. The glancing angle is next increase in equal steps. I told you that glancing angle is changed in equal step, and by rotating the crystal table, the ionization current is noted for different glancing angle. So purpose is, what is the purpose? We have to change the glancing angle and we have to measure the ionization current, and a graph is plotted. Okay, see here, intensity and glancing angle. You can see there are so many peaks here, a1, a2, a3. These are at theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, and another smaller peaks here, b1, b2, b3. Actually these are at different glancing angle, theta 1 and theta 2 and theta 3. So a1, a2, a3 refer to X-ray of wavelength lambda. Now if we change the wavelength of, see here, lambda 2 in this figure, you can see lambda 2. So this set this set of graph is for wavelength lambda 1 X-ray, light X-ray, and this set is for another wavelength. And from this figure or from this graph we calculate wavelength 2D using 2D sin theta is equal to n lambda. Okay, so thank you.